It's time for Fresh Oil with singer-songwriter and pastor Keith Manley, a program designed to minister the gospel of God's grace and to bring fresh oil to the brokenhearted. And now, with today's program, Pastor Keith Manley.
Hello, friend, and welcome to Fresh Oil. I'm your host, Keith Manley. We have come to the last day of our series this week called Second Chances, People God Refused to Give Up On. What a week it has been. And today we are closing the series with what I believe is the most personal, most dramatic, most gut-level, honest second chance story in all of the New Testament. Today we are talking about Peter. Now, almost everybody who has spent any time in church knows the broad strokes of Peter's story. We know he denied Jesus. We know he wept. We probably know there was a rooster involved. But I want to take you through the whole arc of this story today, from the upper room all the way to the day of Pentecost. Because when you see it as one complete picture, the grace in it is overwhelming. It is more than just a story about a man who failed and got forgiven. It is a story about the way Jesus personally, intentionally, tenderly pursues a broken man and puts him back together piece by piece. Let's start in the upper room on the night of the Last Supper. Jesus and his disciples have finished the meal. He has washed their feet. He has broken the bread and passed the cup. He has given them the most extended and profound teaching of his entire ministry, what we call the Upper Room Discourse in John chapters 13 through 17. And then he says something that cuts right through the atmosphere of that room. He says, "All of you will fall away because of me tonight. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered." And Peter, and this is so Peter, this is everything you need to know about him in one moment. Peter will not accept it. He pushes back immediately. "Though all the others fall away because of you," he says, "I never will. Even if I have to die with you, never." The Greek word he uses is oudepote. Not ever, under no circumstances, absolutely not, do not even suggest it. And Jesus looks at him and says, "Truly I tell you, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." I want you to sit in that moment for just a second. Jesus is telling Peter to his face, with complete foreknowledge and complete certainty, that before the sun comes up, Peter is going to deny him 3 times. And Peter is so sure of his own heart, so convinced of his own loyalty, so absolutely certain of his own courage, that he argues with Jesus about it. He tells the Son of God that he is wrong about what is about to happen. That is not stupidity. That is sincere self-deception. Peter genuinely believed what he was saying. He genuinely thought he would die before he would deny Jesus. And that is one of the most important things this story teaches us. You can be completely sincere and completely wrong about your own spiritual condition at the same time. The heart is capable of hiding things from itself that are completely obvious to God. They leave the upper room and go to Gethsemane. Jesus takes Peter and James and John deeper into the garden and asks them to watch with him. He goes a little further, falls on his face, and begins to pray. "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." He comes back and finds them sleeping. "Could you not watch with me 1 hour? He goes and prays again, comes back, sleeping again, 3 times. They cannot stay awake. That is the first failure of the night for Peter. Not dramatic, not public, nothing that would make the headlines. Just a man who could not stay awake when Jesus needed someone to be present with him. It was a failure of love more than anything else. Jesus was in the deepest agony of his life, and his closest friends chose sleep over presence. Then Judas comes with the crowd, torches and swords and temple officers. And Peter reacts the way Peter always reacted, immediately and physically. He reaches for a sword and swings it and cuts off the ear of the high priest's servant, a man named Malchus. Now, I want you to give Peter credit for that moment. That was not cowardice. That was a man swinging a sword against an armed crowd in the dark to protect the person he loved. Whatever else you say about Peter in this story, he was willing to fight. But Jesus rebukes him. Put the sword away, and he reaches out and heals the ear of the man Peter just cut. And then the disciples scatter. Matthew 26:56 says it plainly. Then all the disciples left him and fled, including Peter. But here is something I do not want you to miss. Peter comes back. He does not go all the way home. He does not disappear into the city and put the whole night behind him. He follows. At a distance, the text says, but he follows. He gets into the courtyard of the high priest's residence. He sits down with the servants and officers around a fire to warm himself and see what is going to happen. There is something in Peter that cannot fully let go. Even in his fear, even in his confusion, even knowing that following Jesus into that courtyard is dangerous, he cannot stay away. I think that matters. I think it speaks to the genuine love underneath all the failure that was about to happen. Peter did not deny Jesus because he did not love him. He denied him because in that moment his fear was louder than his love. Those are two very different things. A servant girl looks at him in the firelight. You were with Jesus the Galilean too, she says. And Peter denies it in front of everyone. I do not know what you are talking about. He moves toward the gateway. Another servant girl sees him and says to the people standing around, this man was with Jesus of Nazareth. And Peter denies it again, more directly this time. I do not know the man. A little while passes. The people standing nearby come to him and say, certainly you are one of them too. Your accent gives you away. You sound like a Galilean. And this time Peter begins to invoke a curse on himself and swears, I do not know the man. 3 denials, each one stronger than the last. The first is evasive, the second is direct, the third comes with an oath and a self-curse. Peter is calling down divine judgment on himself if he is lying. He is swearing by God that he does not know God in the flesh. That is the deepest irony in the whole story. And immediately the rooster crows. And then Luke records something that the other gospel writers do not include. One single detail that changes everything about how you read this moment. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Jesus was somewhere nearby, being led through the courtyard perhaps, and at the sound of that rooster, he turned and looked at Peter. Just looked at him. The text does not tell us what was in that look. It does not say anger. It does not say disgust. It does not say disappointment in the way we might think of it. It just says, he looked. And Peter remembered the word, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. And I imagine he kept weeping for a long time. Now fast forward through the darkest hours, the trials, the beatings, the cross, the burial, the silence of Saturday. And then Sunday morning, the women go to the tomb early and find it empty. An angel is there, and he gives them a message to carry back to the disciples. And I want you to pay attention to how that message is worded in Mark chapter 16. The angel says, "Go, tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee." And Peter. The angel singles him out by name. In a message to all the disciples, one man gets mentioned specifically, Peter. Because the risen Christ wanted Peter to know, you are not excluded. The denial did not put you outside the circle. You are still named. You are still included. The message is for you too. That is the grace of Jesus on display before Peter even makes it to the beach. Then comes John chapter 21, and the scene I consider one of the most beautifully constructed passages in all of the Gospels. The disciples have gone back to Galilee and gone back to fishing. Their old life, what they knew before all of this. They fish all night and catch nothing. Early in the morning, a figure appears on the shore and calls out to them, "Friends, have you caught anything?" "No," they answer. "Cast the net on the right side of the boat," he says. They do, and immediately the net is so full they cannot haul it in. And John says to Peter, "It is the Lord." And Peter, and this is so perfectly Peter, it almost makes you laugh, wraps his outer garment around himself and jumps into the water. He cannot wait for the boat to be rowed to shore. He cannot wait the few extra minutes it would take to do this in a sensible and orderly way. The Lord is on the shore, and Peter is swimming. The man who had denied him 3 times is coming through the water as fast as he can get there. When they get to shore, Jesus has a charcoal fire going, fish on it, bread. "Come and have breakfast," he says. Jesus built a charcoal fire on purpose. He recreated the setting of the denial deliberately, not to rub Peter's face in it, not to make him feel worse, but because he is a healer who knows that some wounds cannot be healed from a distance. Some things have to be brought to the surface before they can be properly dealt with. Peter needed to sit by a charcoal fire again. He needed to be in that sensory environment, the smell of it, the warmth of it, the sight of it, so that what happened at the last charcoal fire could be fully addressed and fully healed. They eat breakfast, and then Jesus turns to Peter and asks him a question. "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Notice he does not call him Peter, the name he had given him, the name that meant rock. He calls him Simon, his old name, his pre-calling name, as if to say, "I see all of you. I see who you were before I called you, and I see who you have been this week, and I am asking you the question anyway. Do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," Peter says. "You know that I love you." "Feed my lambs," Jesus says, a second time. "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." "Tend my sheep," a third time. "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And this time the text says Peter was grieved because he asked him the third time. And Peter says, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Feed my sheep. 3 questions, 1 for each denial. This. And then Jesus closes the whole conversation with 2 words that Peter had heard for the first time 3 years earlier on the shore of Galilee when none of this had happened yet. "Follow me." And Peter stands up, this same Peter, the man who could not hold his nerve in front of one servant girl in a courtyard, now stands up in front of a massive crowd of people and he preaches. And God gave Peter a second chance. Walking Grace friend,
Thanks for joining us today for Fresh Oil with Pastor Keith Manley. Fresh Oil is an outreach of Grace Family Church in Rockford, Illinois, and can be heard each weekday at this same time. You can reach us online at weneedgod.com. Until next time, remember, God's love for you is unconditional, and He makes His mercies new every morning.